Cruises, will they sink or not? You know, with this coronavirus, there's crazy stuff going on with cruise lines, and it's so unprecedented. But what are the three things that cruise lines are really being faced with? One, fear is the biggest. If you think about it, over 60% of people cruising are over 55 years old. So they can get very scared very easily. That's the first big hurdle. The second one is finances. You watch one of these videos and you're reading the headlines, over 50% of people that were booked on cruises now have asked for full refunds, not the cruise line credit. So what does that mean to cruise lines? Well, it means they're in a huge cash crunch. So they have to come up with financing in order for them to survive. And in a lot of cases, it might be very high interest financing. So that's hurdle number two. The other big one is people are suing the cruise lines because a lot of cruises went out with knowledge that, you know, certain members and passengers were affected, or they were telling the public, no, there hasn't been any kind of coronavirus issues on this particular ship. And then people sailed. Sure enough, they came down with coronavirus, and a lot of people got stuck, literally not being able to go into a port. So an offshoot of this whole issue is, you know, this coronavirus could certainly be rearing its head for who knows how long. How quickly will ports shut down once they find out a ship has a coronavirus person on it? So personally, I believe there's going to be such stringent cleaning policies and stringent evacuation policies for anyone that gets diagnosed on a ship with coronavirus. I would not be surprised if the ship, at their own cost, evacuates them off that ship as fast as possible. I don't think you'll see corona patients staying on ships, or every ship is going to have an isolation unit on that ship. So they're going to have to come up with some pretty draconian policies and to outfit these ships now because of the coronavirus. But watch the 5 video clips that I've included here, and you make the decision yourself.
The global coronavirus outbreak has wreaked havoc on the travel industry. And if you're a cruise company, it's been absolute chaos.
Cruise lines have been hit hard, as you know. Bookings and earnings estimates are dropping right along with the stocks.
Had to be expected. Princess Cruises have suspended cruises for 60 days.
Shares of Carnival, Royal Caribbean, and Norwegian cruise lines are all down more than 70% in 2020 alone. Ships from fleets across the world have become sites of COVID-19 spread, infecting hundreds of passengers and killing others. The pandemic has basically shut down the cruising business, with the 3 largest publicly traded cruise companies suspending some, if not all, of their operations.
Its sister ship, the Rotterdam, resupplied it and transferred asymptomatic passengers off. Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis told Fox News, quote, "We cannot afford to have people who are not even Floridians dumped into South Florida using up those valuable resources." Joining me now, NBC News correspondent Kerry Sanders from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Kerry, what do we know about where this all stands?
Well, the meeting is in a break right now, but to underscore the question that the governor has stated repeatedly, not only to Fox News, but at many news conferences, about the fact that the pressure that bringing these ships in with patients who are testing positive for COVID will bring. This morning at around 8:30 here at Port Everglades, the paramedics responded to a crew member with COVID-like symptoms. That person was taken off. That was just addressed at the meeting, which is in a break right now. The question, of course, is where do these 2 ships go? While they initially said that those who did not show symptoms were taken off the Zaandam and placed on the Rotterdam, it now appears that there are folks, passengers as well as crew members on both ships that are exhibiting some sort of symptoms of coronavirus.
What dangerous was the coronavirus outbreak aboard the Diamond Princess in February? A new study modeling the onboard epidemic reaches some sobering conclusions. It started with a single passenger and quickly ballooned to a rate of infection 4 times that of Wuhan, China. Left unchecked, the study suggests the disease would have eventually touched 79% of those on board, some 2,900 people. However, researchers also say that if everyone had been evacuated from the vessel when the first cases were discovered, the outbreak could have been contained to just 2%, or 76 people. More than 600 people did get sick and 7 have died. The study concludes the key factor was the ship itself. A floating petri dish where people from all over the world spend weeks in tight quarters, putting their trust in the cleaning staff and everyone else's hand hygiene.
I would probably not advise anybody to go on a cruise for the foreseeable future until the situation settles down.
Yet the cruise industry says that it's safe, that they're initiating a bunch of new safeguards to make sure that everyone on board is healthy. I mean, that's a mixed message. Who should people believe at this point?
Given what we've already seen in the last few weeks, I think that it's a very difficult standard to meet.
Some experts say the coronavirus crisis points to a need to reimagine the spaces where we work, play, and travel.
New travel restrictions causing a nightmare for passengers stuck on the Coral Princess cruise ship, preventing weary travelers from getting home once they finally disembark. Phil Keating is live in Miami with the very latest on all of that. Hey, Phil, good morning.
Good morning to you, Sandra. The Coral Princess behind me arrived in Port Miami on Saturday. It began disembarking yesterday. However, the whole process is going far slower than expected and far slower than desired, especially for all those passengers. Roughly 1,000 people, men and women, passengers, were on that ship. They were all supposed to be home, actually, 2.5 weeks ago, but many of them remained stuck on the ship. 14 passengers were confirmed with COVID-19 while out at sea. 3 of them have now died. However, causes of death not officially determined. After countless in South America, countless countries denied them from porting, while the ship eventually made its way north towards Florida and finally Miami this weekend, where workers resupplied the oxygen on the ship, which was getting critically low. But getting off the ship, and more importantly, getting home, has encountered hurdle after hurdle. The CDC and Department of Homeland Security now say all cruise passengers on a ship with confirmed coronavirus cases should not fly commercial to get home, only on charter planes and only with people from the ship. Last night, the cruise line bused passengers from the port to the airport, and 3 charter planes took them back towards home to California, Australia, and the United Kingdom.
Okay, so you've seen the clips. What do you think? Share in the comments. Do you think the entire industry will recuperate? How long do you think it will take? And do you think there'll be a consolidation in the cruise line industry now, where smaller companies are going to be eaten up by the bigger ones, or maybe even a merger of 2 big ones in order for them to survive? We've seen a lot of that in the cruise industry. Personally, the industry will survive. No question about it. But they'll come out of this with draconian isolation protocols. They're going to have very strict embarkation screening, where they'll be taking thermal imaging of your temperature, everyone coming on that ship, and they'll have the right to not allow you to board. And then they'll have very specific ways to evacuate somebody, if needed, off the ship. And you probably will be seeing that covered in new insurance policies that a lot of these cruise lines created themselves, and they self-insure because it's a huge moneymaker for them. So, a coronavirus clause in there, you're gonna probably see, and they're going to be insisting on people taking out insurance. Maybe not mandatory, but you're going to see a lot more pressure for that. People probably want to do that anyway. So yes, the cruise line will survive. The cruise industry will survive. I believe it's going to take 6 to 12 months before you see it rebound, where people feel safe getting back on board a ship. I personally am going to be cruising this year because my cruise was canceled in March, but I love cruising, and I hope everyone watching this video has faith in the industry, and we will come out on the other side of this just fine, just with a few changes. All right, if you enjoyed the video, comment below, and please subscribe. I appreciate your support by subscribing, as always. Peace out.